This is CBC Vancouver News.
Breaking news from Surrey, where a man has been shot dead inside a vehicle in a Gurdwara parking lot.
We're definitely nervous around here. They can't stop the fire because it's so dry.
The wildfire burning in the province's north becomes the biggest in BC history, now nearly the size of Prince Edward Island. Plus,
you never really know what's coming unless you know that road, so it's just another level of hazard out there.
Calls grow louder for improved safety on forestry backroads following Friday's bus crash near Prince George that sent 18 people to the hospital. Good evening, I'm Tanya Fletcher, and we begin with breaking news out of Surrey this hour. One man has died after a shooting at a Gurdwara. This is what we know. Surrey RCMP say officers were called to a parking lot at 70th Avenue and 120th Street. This was around 8:30 tonight. Police found a man inside a vehicle suffering from apparent gunshot wounds. He died there at the scene. Now, police say they are speaking to the many witnesses about. As you can see, there's been a heavy police presence there all evening. They're looking for any video or physical evidence. Investigators say it is too early to confirm a motive. We also don't know the victim's identity. If you want to know any more updated news on this, be sure to go to our website, cbc.ca/BC, and tune into CBC Radio 1 tomorrow morning for the very latest on this developing story. In other news today, BC has reached an ominous milestone in its wildfire fight. The Donny Creek fire has officially become the single largest wildfire in the province's history. It's been burning for 5 weeks now, scorching remote land about 150 kilometers north of Fort St. John. As Susanna De Silva reports, it's an early start to this year's forest fire season, and it has sparked worry about just how bad it could get.
Sparks of lightning unleashed several raging fires that joined to create what is now the largest fire the province has ever seen.
The temperature has been above seasonal. We've had winds which have been continuous. There are multiple reasons why this fire is the size it is.
The fire is now over 530,000 hectares, a size even officials are struggling to describe.
If you stretch the perimeter, linearly, it would go from Fort St. John to Kamloops, which is a 10.5-hour drive.
It is also approaching the size of Prince Edward Island. While the fire is in an area sparsely populated, there are oil and gas operations and a critical road, the Alaska Highway. Crews have done some controlled burns to protect it, while officials in the Yukon are making plans to nail down other ways of getting essential goods.
We don't have much visibility today, maybe a kilometer and a half visibility.
Truck driver Robert Smith has been taking these photos as he works in the area.
Oh, it's very dry. Some of the trees are even turning yellow already. That's how dry it is. We're definitely nervous around here. It's just, they can't stop the fire because it's so dry, and I don't foresee any heavy rainfalls in our near future from what I've been hearing.
Rain over the last few days has helped tame many fires in the province, like the one on Vancouver Island that cut off a main highway, and it's allowed residents of Tumbler Ridge to go home. But officials warn the rain is not doing enough.
So it's not actually really penetrating into those deeper fuels, which are super dry. And BC is not alone in this. It's a national kind of trend that we've seen with sort of drought.
And as temperatures are expected to rise at the end of the week, so will the risk. Susanna De Silva, CBC News, Vancouver.
Well, tomorrow, Lytton will end its state of emergency after almost 2 years. Residents lost everything when a wildfire tore through the village 2 summers ago. Almost all of Lytton was burned to the ground, the flames destroying nearly everything. The lifting of the state of emergency means people can return to their properties and the rebuilding work can accelerate. Well, Friday's bus crash near Prince George that landed 18 people in the hospital is once again highlighting safety concerns with the province's unpaved service roads. This is not the first time people have been injured while using back roads in BC. In 2019, 2 university students died in a rollover bus crash outside Banfield on Vancouver Island. Now, as Janella Hamilton reports, advocates are raising their voices again, saying something needs to change.
I think people are using these roads more often than we've seen in the past.
This backroad safety expert says more drivers are relying on treacherous Forest Service roads, roads that were initially designed for the logging industry to transport timber and are not as durable and safe as paved roads.
There's less traction on those roads. The corners are tighter. There's less visibility.
The concerns grow exponentially when natural disasters shut down major highways and all of that traffic is funneled to service roads. That's exactly what's happening on Vancouver Island right now with the continuing closure of Highway 4 due to a wildfire. This truck driver who has been using the detour says he recently witnessed a close call when a driver nearly lost control trying to navigate loose gravel on the bumpy road.
Those light vehicles like trucks and cars, it just bounces them right out. And if you're going fast, you just right off the road.
On Friday, a charter bus carrying 30 pipeline camp workers was driving on the Firth Lake Forest Service Road about an hour from Prince George. It went off the road and crashed, sending 18 workers to the hospital. As of Sunday, Northern Health says everyone injured in the crash has been released. The cause of the crash is still unclear, but RCMP say early morning rain made conditions quite poor.
Most of those roads have limited drainage.
It's not the first time a bus has crashed on an unpaved road. In 2019, a bus rolled down an embankment near Bamfield, killing 2 University of Victoria students.
But on a Forest Service road or resource road, you never really know what's coming unless you know that road. So it's just another level of hazard out there.
The Bamfield crash sparked a probe into whether the province was adequately maintaining Forest Service roads. In his report, BC's Auditor General found the ministry did not properly manage safety and environmental risks. He called on the government to bring in more rigorous inspections and maintenance. The call now is for improved signage, more emphasis on drivers' training, and better use of the province's radio communications system. Janella Hamilton, CBC News, Vancouver.
Well, meanwhile, on Vancouver Island, some local leaders are calling on the province to better safeguard essential infrastructure, given the wildfires halting traffic on Highway 4, cutting off Port Alberni, Ucluelet, and Tofino from the rest of the island.
This section of highway has really brought to light the fact how vulnerable we are as remote communities with one road in and one road out.
Highway 4 has been closed east of Port Alberni since June 6th. It's not expected to reopen to even single-lane alternating traffic until next Saturday. For the second day in a row, Environment Canada is warning of possible flurries and wet snow on major highways in the southern interior. Here you can see snow building up a little bit on the Okanagan Connector. This was shot this morning. A special weather statement is in effect for the Coquihalla, the Okanagan Connector, and the Hope Princeton Highway 3. Drivers are being urged to be extra careful as slippery conditions could continue through to Tuesday morning. Precipitation is expected to be the heaviest come tomorrow. And let's take you to our latest forecast. Given that, let's start with the satellite radar, give you kind of a bird's eye view of the province. Here's where you can see us through the hours, counting us through Sunday. Those unstable air mass, that low pressure, really cold trough has been moving across BC. And you can see that has been good news, as we heard, for the wildfires further north. But was it enough? That's the big question, because tomorrow's forecast is actually quite nice. A little bit of rain, a chance of showers here and there, but nothing significant in the way of rainfall on the way for most of BC. The South Coast, meanwhile, will be a bit chillier than normal, certainly than what we've been seeing through most of June. That perhaps January effect is kicking in. But as you move east, even through the Okanagan and the southeast to the Kootenays as well, you can see a chance of those thunderstorms possible. Of course, that's bad news for any new lightning starts, given how dry the ground still is. But looking ahead to the 5-day forecast for Vancouver, will be largely sunny, but otherwise a little bit cooler than what we've been expecting. Still seasonable for this time of year, though. Well, young people living with addictions in BC now have access to more treatment and recovery services. The province has added 24 new substance use treatment beds in Surrey and Vancouver. But as Yasmin Gandam reports, advocates are skeptical it will make much of a difference at all.
18 beds at the Phoenix Society in Surrey and 6 at the Covenant House in Vancouver. The new beds in Surrey will serve men from throughout the province between the ages of 17 and 24, while the 6 beds in Vancouver are open to young adults ages 16 to 24. A welcome addition, but some advocates say young women need more help too.
Difficult to be in that environment as a woman. I think there's such a need for women only places that can just allow women to feel safe and secure no matter what's going on in their life.
Diversity, an organization in Surrey that provides support to marginalized communities, is concerned that these groups are being left out.
For racialized communities, that within their culture, like seeking even mental health services is not very common in their home country or not accessible in their home country. And so they come here and people talk about accessing mental health services, but then there's gates that prevent them from being able to do that.
Terrell adds that marginalized groups have unique needs and are often unable to seek supports because of that.
If English is not their first language and they go to a hospital seeking advice, but they can't speak English and can't communicate properly or can't advocate on their behalf, then how are they able to access the services that they require to be able to get help for substance use?
Guy Felicella, who works with the BC Centre of Substance Use, says youth also need more support after treatment.
The continuum to move them forward. And you'd like to see some additional stuff being added in as well with employment opportunities as well for youth or for anybody going into treatment, because that provides purpose for people.
Vancouver Coastal Health is accepting referrals from healthcare providers for the new beds. Services will begin by the end of June. Yasmin Gantim, CBC News, Vancouver.
Well, Burnaby's Swangard Stadium was the backdrop for one of the biggest fundraisers for local food banks. It was Food Stock Festival 2023.
We're hoping that some of the people here today have learned some good things about the food bank. Maybe they will do a virtual food drive with their colleagues or family, or for their birthday. Maybe they'll become a monthly donor. It's a great way to educate.
The annual fundraiser for the Greater Vancouver Food Bank drew big crowds today. Now in its second year, the festivities featured live music, food vendors, and activities for those 19 plus. Ticket sales aside, 50% of all beverage sales and 10% of all food sales are being donated as well. Well, Father's Day took the form of a walk in Vancouver today, honoring Indigenous fathers, grandfathers, and sons. Hundreds of people joined the event hosted by the Vancouver Aboriginal Health Society. The walk culminated with a powwow. Organizers say it's all part of a resurgence of Indigenous pride.
We want to honor our fathers, grandfathers, our sons, and just really honor our protectors and providers, because that's traditionally what they've always been for us. Under the Indian Act for about 75 years, our powwow and ceremonies were against the law. We weren't allowed to practice them. And we lost a lot of teachings along the way, but they survived, and we're making them stronger and stronger. And by having these events, it just makes our future generations that much more stronger and healthier.
This resurgence of Indigenous pride is such a heartwarming feeling. It shows that no matter what has happened to our Indigenous population in the past, we still have a very bright future with our children and our children's children.
They're learning. I'm a residential school survivor, and I didn't have that opportunity when I was growing up to learn about spirituality and culture. So to have them here is just amazing, because I had to reclaim my spirituality and culture, and they're just growing into it, as they should. When you look at the medicine wheel, there's the emotional, mental, spiritual, and physical. This event covers all 4 of those aspects of the medicine wheel, so it's about healing.
There's just so much pride seeing our men dancing and just really having a good time. And, the little boys watching their dads and grandfathers dancing. It's just really been a really great couple days here.
This powwow is is a good size right now, but next year it's going to be twice the size, and the year after it's going to be 3 times the size. And we're going to be in a larger area too, because we'll need it.
First Nations canoe teams from Canada and the U.S. merged in Harrison Hot Springs this weekend. Sasquatch Days is an annual event co-hosted by the Stay-Less Nation. It featured a salmon barbecue, traditional dances, and war canoe races. The very first Sasquatch Days took place back in 1938. Still to come, a small Manitoba community still desperately awaits answers days after a deadly bus crash. That story is straight ahead. Welcome back. Dauphin, Manitoba remains in a state of shock after a bus crash took the lives of 15 people. As the CBC's Cameron McIntosh explains, it's hard for the city to move forward with so many details unsettled and so many questions unanswered.
A somber Father's Day Sunday. Preparing for Mass, Father Michel No is having trouble finding the words.
What are people asking of you, or what are people saying to you?
Well, there isn't so much the words themselves that is the most important thing. It's the heaviness of the mood.
The mood of a small prairie city shaken by an accident 2 hours down the highway. now marked by flowers, that killed 15 local people still to be identified officially, and left 10 more in hospital seriously injured. Outside another church, Manuel Nakanechny can't get his mind off it.
It's just so hard to comprehend.
He drives for the bus company involved in the crash and is a friend of the bus driver who police say was seriously injured.
And I wake up in the middle of the night and it's just totally right there. There's just no getting away from it.
Well, it's been horrible. I mean, most of the people, I either know them, 2/3 of the people that were on the bus, I know who they are. It's very sad.
Inevitable comparisons have been made to the 2018 Humboldt Broncos crash that killed 16. The hockey team was a face and focus of the community, which rallied in a very public way.
You really have 25 individual families who are grieving.
Dauphin City Councillor Randy Daly says this feels different, more private, family-focused.
People aren't sure what to do, right? I mean, we don't have complete answers.
All that we have.
Back at St. Viator's, Father No says the community is still absorbing it all.
How do you think the community moves forward then?
I'm going to use the classic word, it's a mystery. But as it happens, we will deal with it as it happens.
While there are no firm plans for a community vigil or event at this point, community leaders say that will likely happen at some point in the future after all the victims have been identified. Cameron McIntosh, CBC News, Dauphin, Manitoba.
An already narrow field of Canadian Airlines is shrinking even further. Popular low-cost carrier Sunwing Airlines will be shut down after being acquired by WestJet this weekend. The CBC's Jennifer Yoon looks at what that could mean for your next flight.
After almost 20 years, the end of popular discount carrier Sunwing Airlines comes as an unhappy surprise to these travelers.
I'm actually very surprised. That's really sad, actually. When shopping for a vacation, I saw that Sunwing had the best prices out there.
After acquiring Sunwing last month, an internal memo outlined WestJet executives' plans to shut down Sunwing and absorb its routes. A spokesperson for WestJet says Sunwing Vacations will continue to operate under the WestJet banner. As for Sunwing Airlines, operations are expected to shut down completely within 2 years. Just last week, WestJet announced it was folding discount carrier Swoop into its regular fleet.
Planes are full, fares are high. Airlines are feeling much more comfortable and flexing their muscle to kind of look at trying to consolidate, reduce the competition.
This industry expert says it's bad news for consumers.
We might be going down a slippery slope here of situations where carriers are consolidating, prices will go up. And there might be a need for some oversight to make sure that consumers' pricing doesn't go a little crazy.
But not everyone agrees.
I think at the end of the day, this is a good thing.
This travel agent thinks the merger could actually reduce the delays and cancellations that plagued Sunwing for months.
I think if they've got this big, strong fleet of aircraft available that they can move around, I think this will be better for the consumer and will be more seamless. Bear in mind that WestJet still has a major big competitor in the business, and that's Air Canada.
Just the latest shakeup in Canada's fiercely competitive airline industry as the busy travel season only ramps up. Jennifer Yoon, CBC News, Montreal.
And you're looking at a time lapse over downtown Vancouver today. A few ominous clouds rolling in. Coming up, we'll take you to Qualicum Beach for a car show that raised tens of thousands of dollars for local charities. Stay with us. That's next.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and here's what's in your CBC Vancouver inbox.
The 15th annual Latincouver Festival kicks off this July, and CBC Vancouver is proud to be the exclusive media partner. Enjoy a series of sensational Latin American experiences and the popular Carnaval del Sol Festival. And CBC British Columbia launches the Herb Original, a new podcast for Indigenous History Month. All episodes are available now on CBC Listen.
And finally tonight on Vancouver Island, a popular Father's Day tradition is the annual car show in Qualicum Beach. At the heart of it is $10,000s of dollars raised for local charities. Take a look.
They all do it for the love. They love to show their cars, and they support us by coming out. How much better can it get? Most of the guys that have these cars are fathers, but they're gray-haired fathers, meaning grandfathers, and this is part of our youth. And everybody that has a car here, there are some cars that are absolutely ugly. But when you look at them and you see the workmanship and the artistry and the love that goes into them, there's nothing ugly here. They're all beautiful. It's connection, nostalgic connection to the youth of the people that own the cars. And we're very proud of what we do, and we love showing the cars. We are a registered charity. We do this to raise money for the local charities. We all, Father's Day is a big event, and to be able to have these people represented at Father's Day when wives and the fathers come out with their children, and sometimes the grandfathers and their kids and their grandkids come out. It's just a wonderful thing. It just makes all the people want to come out and see the cars. These local charities do need our assistance. So everything we do has a view to how can we help the local communities. And we're very proud of what we do, and we love showing the cars, and we love bringing it to the community. I think it's an awesome thing we do.
And happy Father's Day indeed. That is your late news for this Sunday. For news anytime, of course, you can check out our website. We're at cbc.ca/BC. Your next local news is on the early edition. That's on CBC Radio 1 starting tomorrow morning at 5:30. Thanks so much for watching this weekend. Have a great night.